So under digestive, on this, you're going to be able to see.
She took a picture.
Thank you. We have the tongue, and then you have the. So here's the pharyngeal, palatine, and sublingual tonsil. This area here is the pharynx, and then it goes down into the laryngopharynx, the what's this one up here called? Nasopharynx, and then the esophagus. Okay, that's for digestion. Lips, teeth, you don't have to know much about it. That one's easy. Tongue. Sometimes they use this. Doesn't that look like an alien? Anyway. But part of the digestive is the tongue. So they can ask you about the different papillae on top. These are called circumferential or circumpallate papillae. Down here are your mommies. Do you remember your mommies? Probably not. Not your mama, but your mommies. And these other ones here are fungiform. They sometimes ask you about those, but not often. So let's go through the digestive tract from the esophagus into the stomach, which is the first portion. So in the stomach, it's not a great one. David, can you gently see if you can find the stomach in the mannequin? It actually has a better stomach. If it explodes on you, too bad. So the stomach actually kind of sits a little bit like this. Kind of like that. So in the stomach, you have to know there's a greater curvature and a lesser curvature. This is the fundus portion, the body, and this is the pyloric portion, which attaches to the duodenum. This area right here, it's actually not placed properly. It's kind of like, it should be right up there. But this is the esophageal sphincter, and this area where the esophagus comes into the stomach is referred to as the cardia. If you open it up, you'll see folds. What are the names of those folds? You guys remember? We talked about this in lecture. It sounds like a South American type of music. This is called ruge, similar to reggae. But anyway, this is ruge. Actually, that's probably not South American. So this is the folds, what we call rugae. Now over here, you can see that this is a sphincter. This is the pyloric sphincter. And if you look on the outside of the stomach, right over here, let me say this one. Yeah, this actually shows pretty cool. All right, so this is another view of the same thing. So they kind of sit like this. Let me see if this shows it inside. About the same. I was hoping it would show a little different view. Nope.
All hours per night.
That's right. Okay. But here you can actually see the stomach, in the gastrointestinal tract, there are 4 layers within the wall. The serosa, the musculus externa, submucosa, and mucosa. Except in the stomach, you have longitudinal and circular muscles, but in the stomach you have another layer which is actually deeper, and it's called the oblique muscles. So here it shows the longitudinal muscles, here are the circular muscles, and then this is the oblique muscle structure. So remember, in the stomach, 3 layers of muscles, not just 2. The deepest one is always going to be the oblique, the most superficial is going to be longitudinal. Okay? So from the stomach it goes into what? What's the structure it goes into from the stomach?
Small intestine.
Yeah.
What's that?
Could you please grab the small and large intestine, since you have it over there? This one's kind of funky. All right. So from the stomach it goes into what part of the small intestine, Sandra? Starts with the D, sounds like duodenum. So the duodenum or the duodenum. So it goes into about an 8 to 10 inch structure called the duodenum or duodenum. Thank you very much. There we go. And once it goes in, it comes onto the right side. So it goes through that small section. What's the next section of the small intestines called? Sounds like martial arts, jejunum. And then the last section, the longest section is the ileum. Okay, now the ileum, it shows it really nice here. This is the last part of the ileum. The ileum comes right through here into the cecum of the colon. And off the cecum of the colon you have, it's not usually gray, it's green, is what? There you go. So that's the appendix. If you look over here, I don't think it shows it very well. There it is. So what you're looking at basically is this. It kind of sits like this. Right where that area is right there, that's the ileocecal valve coming from ileum to the cecum, and then you can see in appropriate color is the appendix, vermiform appendix. So once you get into the cecum, then you have the ascending colon to the right colic flexure, or what's the other name for the right colic flexure? Hepatic flexure. Then it goes across, what is this called? This whole section? It's going on this plane. What's this? Transverse. So this is the transverse colon into the splenic flexure or the left colic flexure, down through the descending colon, and then it goes through this little S shape called the sigmoid colon. It goes into the rectum, and that's the holding tank, and then the anus is there. This doesn't show it as well. So as you look at this, you're going to see that these white areas here, or in this case the gray lines on the colon, what are those called? TC. We don't have time. Tinea coli, thank you. So here's the tinea coli. You'll see it going down this direction here and down this direction there. So the tinea coli, and what the tinea coli is, it's smooth muscle and connective tissue that actually kind of contracts, and when it contracts, it forms these little small pouches, which we call ostra. Did we talk about this yet?
Yeah.
I thought we did. At least I was there. Anyway. So these little things are called hostra, which are little pouches. They can really be little houses. Okay? Covering this entire anterior aspect, hanging right off of what they call the mesocolon, is this fat pad. And we call that the greater, say louder, David?
Omentum.
That's the greater omentum. Where's the lesser omentum? The lesser omentum actually comes off, this kind of sits like this, comes off the lesser curvature, and it kind of covers this area here. That's called the lesser omentum. This is the greater omentum. Since you can see it, they could ask you that. That's about it for that. They could ask you also about, this is the mesentery. You remove this. This basically is the mesentery structure, a part of the peritoneum that kind of holds everything together. What organ is this? Pancreas. So you got that down easy. So that covers most of that. We're going to talk about the pancreas in more detail over there. So that takes care of the primary organs. Let's go to secondary organs. This is typically, okay. So that's going to sit kind of like this. There's a right lobe and a left lobe. What structure is this? Say it again. The what? The what's she saying?
Hilum.
The hilum? No, the hilum is over here. This is a big vein. The renal vein. So because this is the renal?
No, I'm wrong.
What is the renal? You want to see what the renal vein looks like? Here's the renal. Right, woo. Here's the renal vein. Right there. Little teeny one. So this is huge. What is it? Say it loud? No. But that's not a bad guess. Inferior vena cava. Because it sits like this, the inferior vena cava comes through. Alright, now we know that. There's a couple things you need to know. This first one right here is called the falciform ligament. That's usually the only one they ever ask you about. And when you turn it over, what is this? Try again.
Hilum.
No, the hilum is over here. This is the gallbladder. Anything green is going to be the gallbladder. What does it actually have inside of it? It stores what? Bile. So you were paying attention to that. All right. So right, kind of a, Josh, pointing, what do they call it? Behind the torso. Looks like a Q-tip. Or what they are. Thank you. So right here, you have right and left. Whoops. You have right and left hepatic ducts that come into a common hepatic duct that meets the cystic duct that forms the common bile duct. They like to ask these, so you got to be careful of those. I'm going to show you from a different. So you have the right and left hepatic duct that forms the common hepatic duct. This is coming from the gallbladder, so it's called the cystic duct, and they come together and they form the common bile duct. Okay, we'll be sure what that looks like over there. That's about all they ask you on the liver. However, inside the liver, they like to ask you about these structures. These structures, if I turn the gas on, just don't breathe. Okay. So this is referred to as a liver lobule. I guess I can turn right side. So you can read it. Inside the liver lobule, there are many of these little structures. If you're looking at a textbook, they all kind of circle around a central vein. So these things kind of go around like this and form a lobule structure. So this is referred to as the hepatic triad. Remember I told you about the hepatic portal system? Did I talk to you about that? It's all the venous blood is brought back. Before going back to the heart, it goes through the hepatic portal system, it goes through the liver one more time. Okay. So this is the hepatic portal. This is the hepatic portal. This is the hepatic artery. And this is, thank you, is the common bile duct, and this is the lymphatic duct. So these three here, the hepatic artery, the hepatic portal, and the common bile duct, they form a triad. It's called the hepatic triad. And they basically are feeding in and feeding out, blood going in and bile coming out. So it brings blood in through here, and these referred to are called sinusoids. All these little openings are sinusoids. Each one of these is a hepatocyte. There's a nuclei. These are hepatocytes. In between the hepatocytes, you have bile canoniculi. What is canoniculi? We've talked about that before. What is it?
Canals.
Yeah, small canals. Where do we notice them from before? In the osteon, exactly. So these are bile caniculi that are actually taking the byproduct of what the liver does and drains it back into the common bile duct, takes it back. But you also see right here on the outside of the hepatic vein structure, these are called Kupffer cells. K-U-P-F-F-E-R, Kupffer cells. And the Kupffer cells are phagocytic in nature, and they kind of cleanse the blood as it goes through of any debris that's laying around there. So you need to know the triad, the artery, the vein, the bile, and the hepatocytes, the bile caniculi, the sinusoids, and the Kupffer cells here. And all of this, except for the bile going this way, all of this going this way drains into the central canal, the central vein, that eventually takes it back into the hepatic vein, eventually back into the inferior vena cava. All right? And they do like to use this one as well. Let's go into another one called kidney, another accessory. So in the kidney and the pancreas, well, kidney's not accessory, pancreas is. So here's the pancreas, and what section is this of the small intestine? Stomach sits right here. So what section is this? It's, say again?
No.
So it's the duodenum, or the duodenum. And in the duodenum, you can see those little things. What are these little structures here called? What are you talking about? Say again? What is she saying? What are those little things that have the villi on them? Inside the small intestine? They are microvilli. What is that whole thing called? It goes in circles, what do we call it? Clique what? Clique circularis. So these are your clique circularis. You guys are going to have fun with this. Okay. Now you also see there's an opening here and an opening here. So this is the main opening, but it used to be called the sphincter of Oddi, because what happened, and there was a ampulla of Vader, but now they just call it the duodenal papilla. But right here is the main pancreatic duct, and this green structure is the common, what? Common bile duct, and they come together, because here's, if you look it around, it doesn't show much, but here is the left and right hepatic duct, common hepatic duct, cystic duct, come together to the common bile duct, and there's a common bile duct that comes into the pancreatic duct, and that's where the actual bile is secreted into the duodenum. Over here is a secondary duct that comes off of the pancreas. Now this is called the ductal Wirsong, or the pancreatic major duct. What are these little structures that come off of it? Those little white things. The islets of what? The islets of Langerhans, or pancreatic islets. So you have the head, the body, or the tail. Nope. Head, body, or tail. So please reverse that. Head, body, tail of the pancreas. Spleen, adrenals, kidneys, you have to know at this point. That should be about it for that. Stay. Now let's talk about the walls of the dead. They always like this one because it's actually a fairly accurate model. So there are 4 levels, 4 layers within the actual wall of the GI tract, from the esophagus all the way down to the anus. There are some variables. In the esophagus, the serosa is not called serosa, it's called adventitia. But most of it is going to be normal. So you have serosa, the outside. This is the muscularis externa. What muscle is this, Stacey? Circular, or is it longitudinal?
Longitudinal.
And this is?
Circular.
Yes. Good. And then from here up is the what? Submucosa, and from here up is the mucosa. This actually is a muscularis mucosal layer of smooth muscle, not really part of the external muscle. Then you have these are the microvilli, and what are these? The crypts of what? Crypts of lubricant, or intestinal crypts. What are the cells you find in the intestinal crypts? 2 major ones. Which ones? What did she say?
Goblet.
So no, the goblets aren't too much here. The goblet cells are up here. Why are the goblet cells up here? Because what do they secrete?
Mucus.
Mucus. Why do you need mucus up here? Because the food's moving along and you want it to not have so much friction as it's going along. These are actually referred to as brush border cells because this is where most of your absorption of the food takes place. So right down the middle of this microvilli, actually this villi, is this green structure that absorbs lipids into the lymphatic system. What is that called? Starts with an L? Called lacteal. You guys remember that from the lecture? Okay, great. We haven't gotten that far. So this is called the lacteal. This is Brunner's gland, or patch sometimes known. Down here you're going to have chief cells, not chief cells, you have to have what we call Paneth cells that help secrete and stimulate mucus. What are these kind of yellow things here? Whenever you see anything yellow, what tissue is it?
Nerve.
Say that?
Nerve.
Yeah, it's going to be a nerve. So this is part of the enteric nervous system. Remember we talked about the CNS, the PNS, now we have the ENS, which is the enteric nervous system. These are plexuses. And I believe that's about it for this. Yep, that's it. Right, so as far as all this we just went through, and your histology slides, that's what you need to focus on. So feel free to take any of these you want, go back in your groups and